Can you still see me? Are you there?
Yes.
Can you still see me?
Yes.
Okay, so time to flip the camera. Alright, so welcome to your Kinky Friends, and it is April 16th at 1 o'clock, and I have a magnificent guest today. I'm here with Mistress Jasmine from Florida, although she was born in the UK, so that's exciting. So, this will be an audio interview. She doesn't want me seen, so respect that. So, I hope that you enjoyed this interview and all her insights, and we're going to talk about everything that Nicholas usually talks about, and have a good time. Say hi.
Hello.
So before we get started, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been working professionally as a dom since I was 18 years old. I probably really acknowledged my interest in kink and BDSM as early as I acknowledged my own sexuality, and by the time I hit puberty, I was already interested in all things in that general BDSM topic, and exploring that within my personal life. Even going back further than that, I was probably always dominant. Even as a child, most of my friends were boys, but I enjoyed, bossing them around and making them do things for me. So I think being a dom is just something that's been in my nature for my whole life.
I mean 18, that's really young to start.
Oh, you want it? I could get even more scandalous than that. My best girlfriend when I was living in London, she was 2 years older than me, so she turned 18 whilst I was still 16, and so she went to her first. Though there's a lot of big like fetish balls in London, like Torture Garden and events like that, and she went to her first one. And she's like, oh my God, you've got to come to one of these with me. We've got to get you a fake ID. So we obtained a false ID, and I went to my first fetish ball at the age of 16. And honestly, it was like coming home. I never felt more in my element. And I also observing all the mistresses, these gorgeous women in latex with men literally falling to their knees to kiss their feet. I knew right then and there, that's what I want to be when I grow up.
I mean, hey, if you know from early on that this is where you want to be, and this is you, and awesome. So,
Yeah.
So was that your first time that you realized like that you were kinky? And
I mean, like I said, probably around the same time I hit puberty and began to explore my own sexuality, I was drawn to, things in the realm of BDSM as well. But yeah, going to that event really sealed it for me. And so then as soon as I did actually turn 18, I went and got an apprenticeship at a local dungeon, which was really an excellent opportunity. With us, I was able to learn all aspects of BDSM. I was able to experience dominating such a wide variety of clients. With London being primarily the most traveled to location in the world as far as both business and tourism, I literally had the opportunity to dominate men from all over the globe, and it really gave me a wide array of experience.
imagine. So, what's inspiring you these days?
Well, I've recently relocated to Florida, this tropical paradise here, and I've moved around a bit to quite a few other places, but I think I've settled in here, and I think I probably will stay here because I really love the environment here. And so it'll almost be a year. I moved here in June of last year, so it'll almost be a year, and I've been just, enjoying. I have my own dungeon space now in my home, and I've been enjoying building up my new harem of slaves in my new location here.
Awesome. So, let's see. So, the next question I have is, so every dom has specialties. Some are sadistic, some are sensual, and there's all kinds of play that they do. But what is your specialties? What are things that you're really good at? Or really not?
I've got a really long list. If you go to my website, I have all of my interests, and it's such a variety. And I think that's what I enjoy, is variety. I feel like I'm very multifaceted. I can enjoy playing in a sensual session. I can enjoy being the strict hardcore dom. I can enjoy, cross-dressing and foot worship and soft play. I can enjoy getting out my single tail and whipping you till you bleed, I think what I most love about being a pro dom is the varieties, that I don't have to do the same thing all the time, because even the things I love the most, if every session entailed those specific activities, I'd probably get bored with them after a while, because I like variety. I don't like to be the same or do the same thing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that would get old. Doing the same thing all the time. Because, I mean, all the sessions that I've had where, I'm the sub, it's like we switched it up each time. If I did the same thing every time in a session, that we get boring.
Right, and some people do prefer that.
Slave over and over and over.
I know. I don't, and if somebody is into that, I mean, I do have clients who just, they have their list. This is what I like, and they like to do this pretty much the same thing every time they come. Which, that's fine if that's what they're into and they like to just do those activities. But at least with the opportunity to see a variety of different clients, I don't have to do those same activities all the time. I can do, some spanking and some flogging in one session. I can do, some heavy CBT in the next session. I can do puppy play in another, it's so many different things that I get to experience.
Yeah. I mean, like, so the girl's just like, da-da-da slave, da-da-da slave. It's like, well, now slave's lost all meaning to me. With her. Because it's all she ever called me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have other ones that call me other things, and, whether it's sub or slave or brat, whatever, they call me. But with her just calling me slave, 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 it's like, that's lost all meaning with her, because she never called me anything different.
Right.
And, we had one session and then it was over. And we never talked again. So, while people have their interests, they also have limits. I don't have many, but my limits used to be everything. That's totally changed.
Yeah.
But while subs have limits, doms also have limits. So yes. What are your limits?
I'm not into really any type of toilet play. I don't even do golden showers. I don't care for it. I don't like wrestling or anything, like along those lines. Let's see. Yeah, nothing really involving like bodily fluids on my end. So not Roman shower, not any kind of showers.
Good, because I don't like that either. That's actually one of my limits. So.
And I don't enjoy playing with cat balls or doing like forced by with like I can do it as like a verbal kind of role play, like I'm going to go, dress you up like my little slut and pimp you out, but I don't like actually I don't like anything really that would involve a third person in the session. I like my one-on-one time.
I understand. So they say you just moved to Florida, but did you just move to the United States, or were you somewhere before?
No, I was in a couple different cities before I landed here. They were cold places though, and I found I really do not like the cold. So
I'm with you on that.
much happier here.
So how is London, the kink scene there, different than the United States?
Well, I think in London everybody's kinky. They may not admit it openly, but I think it's larger as far as they have these massive fetish balls that will have 1,000 attendees, and they have them pretty frequently, and different events and meetups and things like that. And I think a lot more people even engage in kink in their private lives. Of course we don't talk about that in polite company, but I know you just know everyone's doing it.
Right. I mean, we definitely have had a lot of guests from the UK, so I definitely know that there's a lot of them there.
Absolutely.
So a lot of these don't apply to you. That's my question. So what do you think is the biggest misconception of BDSM?
Well, unfortunately, it's still very highly stigmatized. They think we're all just a bunch of miscreant perverts, and that's why that's one of the reasons why I don't publicly post my face in photos and such, because of different reasons in my personal life and other professional things. You don't it's I say it like this, which might sound a bit odd, but I say kinky is the new gay. And what I mean by that is, like, if you think about in the past, it was considered a scandal for someone to be gay, and they could lose their job, they could be ostracized by society. But now it's like the complete opposite. If a company or an individual were to discriminate against someone for being gay, they would be the one being ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, kink has not made it to that level of acceptance yet. And so, if you found out your teacher or your professor, your accountant or your pastor was a dominatrix by night, they could lose their jobs, they could be, shunned by their family, shunned by society. And, it's just largely misunderstood that, it's not that if it's something we do in our personal life, it has nothing to do with what other else we may be doing as a profession.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of times, and they think too that when you're playing, it's all like, a lot of people that are misinformed see it as abuse.
Oh, absolutely. They don't realize that everything, I recently wrote a blog post about the importance of communication, that before you begin a scene, you talk with your sub about everything that they're open to, everything that they're not open to,
Absolutely.
anything that might be somewhere in between. You establish safe words, you make sure you're completely on the same page. And they're and the sub has the right to use their safe word if at any point anything is not going well for them.
So, in your own personal opinion, because I had this happen to me, do you think it's acceptable for a dom to say you can only use your safe word like 3 times?
No, I don't agree with that, because you don't know what might be happening within that person's mind, mentally, physically, that might make it that something's not okay for them. And that's like, that's when it kind of does cross into the line of abuse, because you're not giving them the option.
Right. We played for my first time ever, and she's like, Now, I know you have your safe word, but you only use it 3 times. I'm like, I mean, I only used it once, but, I was,
Yeah.
I mean, I can take a lot, but, at that time, but then when I wasn't given a limit, I was just saying I used it a lot more. Just because she started, she started out really easy with me, because I hadn't done it before, but then when I played more often, she's like, now I'm going to be harder on you because you've played. But,
Yeah.
I'm playing a lot. So, so aftercare is really important after a session.
Absolutely.
So what kind of aftercare do you provide?
Well, I will give them a warm towel to put over their naughty bits. I will talk with them, how are you? Are you all right? How do you feel? Get them some water and, give them as much time as they need to kind of come back to reality, sink back into the vanilla world and give them the time to talk about anything they might need to, and let them, get up and go about getting dressed and such at their
It's
own
like
pace.
after a session, it's just like, I don't want to come back right away. Like, you know, with them, it's like every time that I play, and they had someone else coming in for a session right after me, so I had to get dressed and get out.
All right.
But for me, it's just like, oh, but I want to stay and talk.
Yeah, I don't. I think you got to admit, I don't book back to back at all. So my schedule can become busy,
See,
but
you have your own play space though. Like
yeah,
they had their own dungeon, so
right.
they had other doms coming in.
Yeah, see, that's what I like. Yeah, that's what I dealt with a lot at the dungeon I worked in. That's one of the reasons I made my decision to go independent from there on out once I moved. And yeah, I always leave 2 hours between sessions, so that, gives the sub enough time to, be ready to move on. It gives me enough time to do. I'm very meticulous about cleaning, disinfection. So I do a very thorough cleaning between sessions as well. So for that reason, I usually don't take more than 2 sessions in a day, because I want to give myself that time.
Absolutely. Do you like to roleplay?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, there were some roleplay questions I found. Oh yeah. So what's your favorite kind of roleplay?
I like the teacher student. It's always fun. The nurse patient, or boss employee, um, interrogator, spy, that type of. Sometimes I get into the police or military and subject type of thing.
So you have different, a lot of different ones you like to do.
Yeah, it's definitely adds a different, a new element, a change up. That can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've done teacher student. I've done big sister, little sister, and I've done mother daughter and daddy daughter a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably my favorite, just because I need to be little, and even though I'm 38, I identify as more 15 or 16. So
All right.
just because I act for 15 or 16, so I could
Yeah.
definitely get down to that age.
Oh, brilliant.
And then my friend, my sub, um, she gets down to 5 or 6.
All right.
I'm like, I have to stay here acting about 10, but she's like, no, I feel more like 6.
Yeah.
And she has a bottle, a pacifier, diapers, all.
Mm. Yeah, I have done the infantilism scenes before. It's I mean, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite types of role plays, but I do like to do it occasionally when I don't get the requests that often, but when I do, I like it. I can enjoy it as a change up.
Yeah, I haven't done it professionally, but I've done it like
They just
online.
can't poop. That's my rule. If you're going to
No,
wear a
I've
diaper,
told
you
her,
cannot poop.
like, if you do, you're changing yourself. I'm not touching that.
Exactly.
So, chastity, is that something that you knew?
I'm open to it. I've had people inquire about it, but not ever follow through as far as like, like maybe only like during the session. But as far as being a key holder, I've not really had anyone actually follow through on those requests.
It's hard to have someone that wants to actually, like, yeah, I've had people inquire out with me, like my ex-boyfriend. He's like, "Oh, I need chastity full time," but then when I try to like do it, he's like, "I can't handle it."
Yeah, and I think the thing that would be most difficult for me is when once you accept that responsibility, you pretty much got to be on call 24/7
Yeah.
because if in the middle of the night this person's having a medical emergency, you've got to be able to get that key to them. And I don't think I would like that. I like my
Especially if you're
sleep.
like
I
really
don't
far
want to have
away.
my sleep interrupted some night, or just to have to leave my phone on all night
Right.
and have some random spammer wake me up at 7 o'clock in the morning, so yeah, I think that aspect of it, of just constantly having to be available, would be the thing that would not appeal to me about it.
Yeah, it would definitely, especially if you were really far away from them, like an hour, because like the dungeon that I go to is 40 minutes away. So, and she's in Atlanta and I'm in a suburb of Atlanta, but it takes me 40 minutes to get to where she is. So, if I were to be in that situation, if I were a guy, then and I needed the key, and she never answers her phone. You call her, and she'll let it ring and go right to voicemail. I even called her one time because we were supposed to meet up that day, and I called her, and she's like, "Why are you calling me?" I'm like, "You looked right at your phone and didn't even answer it." Like, she's like, in her voicemail, she's like, "So I check it like once a month. If you really get hold of me, I suggest you email me." So like yeah, sure. And so for her it would be hard because she never answers the phone.
Right.
Because she mentioned wanting to do this interview and I'm countering it. So do you do forced feminization?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so my question with that is, has your attitude towards that changed over the years?
No, I can't say it really has. No, not in particular.
Okay, so let's say a guy comes to you and wants that, but he's never done it before. Maybe he's done it like privately or, on his own, but not professionally with any money. What advice would you have for a first timer?
Well, I'll just kind of, take it slowly with them a little bit. First, put on the panties. I love that word. They say panties here in the US, and it's such a dainty little word. In the UK we say knickers, but it's kind of, I just love the word panties. So I put the panties on them and tell them, how does that nice silk feeling feel good against your naughty parts there? You like that feeling of the silk on your bum? Oh, I think I do, Well, we should ought to try a bit more, maybe put a few more things on them. Now, you know, I want you to experience talking like a girl. You know, let me see if you can give me a nice little feminine voice. All right, now let me see a slutty walk. I want you to be a slutty girl for me, so let me see you give me a nice slutty walk. Oh, can you give me a lap dance? Yeah, let me see you give me a lap dance. Oh, that feels good. You like doing that, don't you? You want to be used. I know you want to be my little slut, don't you? So, you know, it's I make it very fun for them, and you know, I make it so it just feels like that's what they wanted to do all along, you know.
Absolutely, and that I like how you like, you know, you tease them with that. It's fun.
Mhm.
Because like again, I haven't really seen much of it because I am a girl.
Yeah.
But just like, oh, we're like, you like that, huh? You're
Mhm.
used, don't you?
Mhm.
So how do you think we can explore that without degrading a woman in general?
Well, I make it like it's a privilege for them to be transformed into a girl, you know, like, oh, we're taking you out of your lowly male creature habits and we're teaching you how to be this superior. I do a lot with female superiority, so I make it like I'm making them better by turning them into a girl.
Oh, very awesome. So, do you have a lot of requests for that?
I get a fair amount, yeah.
Like, I think the place I go to, they have like a specific feminization room.
Mm.
I haven't been in it because I don't need to.
Right.
Like, or was a steam room. But so you said that you could be sensual, you could be sadistic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sadistic role, like, or area, whatever. The sadistic role. What do you think, off the top of your head, is the most sadistic thing you've ever done?
I mean, well, I can get pretty nasty with my single tail. I have drawn blood with that. And then, of course, there's the area of needle play, you know, needles through the nipples, needles through the genitals. So I can get into some pretty intense CBT. I love full-on ball busting. Really good hard kicks to the balls, you know, is just a lovely way to get a good cardio workout in during a session.
Definitely. So in the impact play, the question is there's, you know, there's whips and floggers and canes and crops, all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And which one is your favorite and why?
Oh, I love a good caning. You know, I love to give a good caning. It's so leaves such lovely welts. And it's so I feel the power of wielding the cane. And I also love the single tail. I just love to hear that crack of the whip when it breaks the sound barrier and gives you that little tiny sonic boom and draws back and leaves a nice little welt in its place.
Just to sound like, you know,
Yes.
oh, I mean, I've experienced everything except a crop. I've experienced everything else.
All right.
And, like, yeah, I mean, if a whip was used, I was blindfolded when it happened, so I'm not sure if that's what it was. But
Oh.
it's what it felt like it was. I mean, I'll have to ask her what exactly she used, but I think that's what it was. So it felt like.
All right.
I couldn't see.
No, there's one implement like about a step below the single tail. That would be the dragon tail. And that can give a similar sensation, but it's more, it don't crack really. It can give a little snap, but and it's not as intense as a single tail, but it's close. I find it helpful to warm someone up to the single tail by starting with the dragon tail.
Do you have names for your toys?
No, I just call them by what they're called.
Somebody will name them. Okay, so you mentioned that that you have done foot worship scenes.
Yes, that's
and that's probably the most mainstream of all kinks.
Yeah, it is,
Most acceptable. Why do you think that is?
I guess because it is so mild. It's not, oh, okay, so you like feet, all right. Everybody's attracted to different body parts. Yours happens to be feet. It's not a big deal. It's not really seen as much by vanilla society as something that's really, deep in the realm of kink. Is more of just, okay, it's just something that, another body part that you like.
Right. Yeah, for me, like, I've done body worship. I'm supposedly good at it. But my guy sub likes it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not me. Like,
Yeah.
I myself don't really like it, but that's just me. It's like, don't touch my feet. So, that's just me. So, he's like, but I want to worship them. I'm like, well, then find a pro. I mean, I said, they can play with my hair, that's fine, but don't touch my feet.
Right.
And maybe because I'm ticklish, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people have certain kinks that they're like really ashamed of, me included. So they can't share with anyone else because they feel they're gonna be judged or made fun of. What advice would you give to those people?
Don't try to to find a pro, really, because if you start, if they try to bring it up to their partner or someone, a potential partner, you don't know what that person's reaction is going to be. If they go to someone who's does this as a profession, we've seen it all, we've done it all, we're not going to judge you on anything.
Right.
And by exploring sessions in that way, it can help them to feel more confident, yet that, yes, this is an acceptable thing. I enjoy this, and there's no reason I should be ashamed of this. I mean, I basically believe that, being kinky is as inherent to one's sexual identity as sexual identity itself. I mean, so the same way someone knows they're gay, they know they're straight, they know they're bi, whatever, you're kinky. It's part of you. It's who you are.
Okay.
And therefore it's not anything you should be ashamed of, but you should be encouraged and empowered to go on exploring it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different, but just be yourself. So what is your most common request?
I mean, spanking is very common. Pegging, everybody wants something up their bum. I get a fair amount of requests for CBT of varying levels of intensity. A lot of teasing and tease and denial.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
Especially like, can I come? Nope, you haven't earned it yet.
Right, exactly.
Like, and then like knowing like you have to work for it. You can't just get it when you ask, like you have to work for it.
Exactly.
So as of right now, and if you don't want to answer this, that's fine. Are you in a personal relationship right now?
I have a personal slave. I'm in a, I'm in a lifestyle relationship, and I have a personal slave who is a live-in slave and tends to all of my needs.
So it's nice to have that.
Absolutely.
Take care. I don't want to.
Right.
So this question, Nicholas never really asked, but I'm always interested in this question. So, um, you know, every dom has their titles they like to be called by, whether it's mistress or goddess or whatever. So how do you prefer to be addressed?
Mistress. I'm pretty traditional.
I know it's like ma'am or
Yeah, I'm coming across that in the US, but that is another common term of respect that they use here more than they do overseas. So I accept that as well.
I mean, I've never come across. I mean, I did actually. The one that called me slave 24/7. She's like it was always man with her. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and how do you address yourselves normally? It's like, do you go by slaves or?
It depends on what type of scene it is, slave or pet, or if it's obviously if it's a specific role play, then it would be whatever they're playing. But yeah, slave, pet, naughty little boy,
So do you play with women too, or just guys?
In my personal life, I've played with women. Professionally, I've not had that request.
One day you may, because I might ask you.
Right.
Because I'm just saying that I do go to Florida quite often, so
Yeah, right.
maybe that day I home.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Because I prefer playing with women other than guys, so.
All right.
So obviously, as people grow, interests change or expand. As I said, my limits were everything until I started playing. And then there are things I'm like, you know what? I want to try that one too. Things I hadn't heard of before. So, what are some kinks that you haven't done or want to try or are just getting into right now? Or are there any?
That I haven't. I mean, the things I haven't done are things I don't have any interest in, which would be what is on my website as my hard limits. Like, I've never had any interest in wrestling, and I don't think I will ever want to try that. I did try. I've never had an interest in any other types of toilet play like brown or red, but I did try golden showers early on, when I was at the dungeon, and I just always had a difficult time with it. Like my body don't. It's not that I'm opposed to it, mentally or ethically, but physically, my body don't cooperate when I try to piss on someone. It's like, nope, not coming out. So I gave up trying.
How do you time that,
Yeah, I mean, even if I have to go, like I would try to drink loads of tea prior to the session to where I'm like, all right, I really have to go. But like I get in position to do it and it will just, nope, not coming out. Like, okay, my body just don't want to do this activity, so I'm not going to try anymore. So,
that's actually a reason not to do it.
Right.
Because they're like, I don't want to do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I know one Dom, she only did that in the morning.
Okay.
Because, she had to get up from sleeping and have to go.
Right.
but like she wouldn't take those in the afternoon or evening sessions because, you know, while she drank a gallon of water a day, you don't have to go. So yeah,
I'd say in retrospect, my interests of what I truly enjoy have grown immensely from when I first started out. I mean, obviously, when I was at the dungeon, I had to do everything. Well, you know, if there was something I absolutely hated, okay, you don't have to do that. But, you know,
right,
they encouraged you to do as much as you were willing to. And I, you know, at 18, I really was kind of more one-dimensional, and I just wanted to be the mean dom, and I wanted to do heavy corporal and heavy pain. And but as I've grown, I've embraced the sensual aspect as well, and I've been able, you know, I started to incorporate that more into my persona, and be able to explore that end as well. And I've taken great joy now in being able to, you know, explore both.
right. So, I know for me, a lot of reasons I can't see my dom is because of money.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't have money because they're lazy and don't want to work right now.
Right.
I understand that. It's like, where do you get your money then? Um, but what are some ways that someone can be kinky without spending a lot of money or any money?
I mean, I don't know. I've not. Well, let's see. I have found out about one place here in the local Florida area that has fetish balls or parties every now and then. So that, you know, for the admission of, you know, $10, $20, whatever, to get into the club, you know, you can experience it in a public setting. I'm sure I haven't. I'm sure there's other lifestyle groups. I think I mean, I imagine every city has them, you know, munches, socials, you know. I actually did stumble. I stumbled into a fetish party actually at this one place that I guess is normally a regular club. And I walked in, you know, dressed as I do when I go out to the club. And I was just, you know, checking out the club. And they're like, "Are you here for the private party upstairs?" Oh, yes, I am. I had no idea what the private party upstairs was, but it sounded a lot better than whatever was going on downstairs. And so I go upstairs, and it was a fetish party. I'm like, oh, lovely. So, you know, there are a lot of public events, and private events, also clubs and such, that you can join for nominal fees, and you know, experience it, you know, more as a lifestyle than as you know,
I like that
professional.
you invited yourself to the party.
Oh no, I'm like, here you go into the private party upstairs. Well, okay, yeah, absolutely.
And then it's totally your scene. So
Absolutely. I'm like, yep, all right, they knew me.
that's awesome. Um, so okay. So obviously, you know, charge for sessions, but do you accept gifts as well?
Um, yeah, depending on what it is.
I mean, what's the best gift someone's ever given you?
Um, I mean, you know, most useful to me is like an Amazon gift card. I've had people, I get brought wine a lot, and the thing is, I hardly ever drink. So, you know, I've got bottles of wine that maybe, you know, a couple times a year I might have like a half a glass. But I like tea, you know, like a lot of different types of tea. And I had this one client bring me like a selection of you know, gourmet teas. I'm like, oh, that's, you know, that's nice because this is something I will use.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not big into all the. Okay, I do like the red bottoms, but and I did get a pair of those from a client. But for the most part, I'm not one of these shallow. Oh, I need all the latest LV bags, and I need 500 pairs of designer shoes and designer this. You know, for the most part, I think designer labels are just a load of rubbish.
Right.
You know, so I don't really care about any of that. You know, I'm really more practical. You know, if somebody's going to give me a gift, I want it to be something that is going to be useful to me in my life.
Right. Like in one of the ones I used to play with, someone gave her a dog.
Oh, wow. That
And
would
someone
be.
gave her a car.
Now see, I wouldn't mind that.
Like, okay, y'all. She wants a car. So, yeah, I mean, and she still has it too. Like, she had a BMW, and she said she went through a drive-thru and it just stopped. And so someone bought her a car. So whoever did that had a lot of money to spend to buy her a car.
Yeah, that I could use. So I would not argue with that kind of gift.
Okay, so y'all listening to this? Mistress Jasmine wants a car. Alright, so CBT, we talked about that a little bit. You enjoy that. So my question with that is, what's the most sadistic thing you've done in CBT?
Well, most recently I tied up. You know, I don't like to use the supposed one size fits all parachute type things because they're absolutely not one size fits all. So I make my own parachute with rope. And actually this was in a very recent session. I had 2 gallon sized jugs of water, one empty and one full. And I tied the full one, or the empty one, attached it to this parachute hanging from his balls. And then little by little, I filled it up. And, well, we're going to see if you can take the whole gallon. And he took the whole gallon. Nice big gallon jug of water hanging from his balls. Gave it some really good swings to put a little extra equilibrium in there. Let's see, what else? I mean, I like to use the tens unit, and that can go from very mild to very intense. My machine goes from 0 to 100, and the average start of feel most people don't start to feel the sensation until around 30. So that's kind of like the very lowest, mild sensation. But if I take it all the way up to 100, it's going to get really intense. Yeah.
So why do you think that masochists love sadists so much?
Well, you have that need. I mean, what makes pleasure and pain so intermixed is the fact that the nerve endings in our bodies, anatomically here now, the nerve endings that are receptive to pain are right next to the ones that are receptive to pleasure. And I think for people who are more on the masochistic side, I think those nerve endings kind of become intertwined to the point where pleasure is pain, and therefore they need somebody to supply that pain.
Yeah, I'm definitely a masochist, but I do like sadists. I'm not a masochist, but I like sadistic people, so I figured. Have you ever dominated somebody with a disability before?
I did. Yeah, I had
How'd you handle that?
Well, I mean, he had a cerebral palsy, so he was confined to a wheelchair. This was at the dungeon, so there were other people around. We would have a second mistress come and help lift him up onto the table, and then once he was on the table, I was able to do all the things that he enjoyed, and it was a bit because he had a bit of a difficulty with speech, so I had to be very, attentive in listening to what he was saying, what he was requesting.
Mm-hmm.
But he understood that, and if I needed to ask him to repeat something, he, would do his best to say it more clearly, and was, completely understanding that sometimes I would need him to repeat things, but he loved it. It was his, I think, his outlet of outside of a life that was, I mean, he was he was intelligent. He held a job, so but he also, a lot of time in dealing with medical and physical therapy and all that. And I think coming to, and he, of course, he still lived with his family. So I think coming to the dungeon and being allowed to experience this aspect of his sexuality and be seen as a sexual being rather than a patient or someone with a disability, I think it was very rewarding for him.
Yeah. Like I told someone at work the other day, it's like, I wouldn't say disabled, I say differently abled.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a disability too, and some doms are afraid they're gonna hurt me because I have a disability.
Okay.
I'm like, no, I can take it.
Yeah.
But then my girl sub is autistic, so it's really hard to play with her because she just doesn't get a lot of things.
All right.
And their ways of communicating are so varied,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know how to communicate properly, so it's hard to play with her because she doesn't know what she wants.
All right.
And she's a brat anyway. So, okay. So you don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm having dominatrix today. So, what made you decide that this was for you?
I mean, it was a process, it was, like I said, finding interest as I began to develop as a sexual being, to learning more about it, to going to that fetish ball at 16 and seeing this was actually something I could do as a profession, to then, thinking about it. I was not, 18 yet, so I had a couple years to really learn, to look up things online and to read books, to really study all aspects of it, so that I knew, this is really what I want to do. And having the opportunity to have an apprenticeship where I was able to learn hands-on, that was spot on.
How long have you been doing this professionally?
Over 10 years now.
So, like, you said you have a live-in slave.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the rules that you have for this person?
Well, he's got his chores, and he's very good about doing his chores. He is also expected to, work and contribute to the household financially, to attend to me personally in any type of pampering I might need. And I'm not like, I'm not like a dictator with him. I do let him have some time, time to himself as well, because I think that's important. Everyone needs time to kind of decompress and have their alone, quiet time. So, I give him that, and
This relationship just started in Florida?
I'm sorry?
This relationship just started in Florida?
Oh no, he's traveled with me for a couple of locations.
Okay, so you've had him for a while.
Yes.
Okay. So, so what is your favorite part about being a dom?
I love to play in all these different areas. I love to kind of, get dressed up and really let myself be who I am naturally. You can't, you got to kind of rein that in most of the time. You can't, go to the local shop. Yeah, okay, employee, I want you to get this, so it gives me that space to let out that part of me.
Right.
And it gives me freedom. I'm not tied down to, sitting in some office for 8 hours, slaving away for some corporation, spending an hour commuting each way. I can set my own schedule. I can work when I want to. I can take time off when I need to, and it's freedom as well as doing what I love.
Absolutely. So, if you remember, what was your first session like?
Oh.
Or what was your first
It
session?
was actually this, I'm surprised I didn't like change my mind at this point, because it was this just kind of really odd guy, which I found out he was like a client, a long time client to the dungeon, and anytime a new dom came in, he immediately wanted to see her, and he was like loosely into foot worship, but he liked to talk and try to get into your head, though. He liked to ask a lot of questions and try to find out about your personal life. And they warned me about that, like, he's going to ask you a lot of questions, so, have some lies made up if you're ready to go, if you don't want to really tell him about your personal life. So I was kind of prepared for it, but it was like, yeah, it was really annoying. Because he wasn't really a submissive. He was a foot fetishist, and I think he had just some weird fetish for almost like topping from the bottom and
Yeah.
trying to just, so I don't like this at all. But they're like, don't worry, most of your clients will not be like him, but he's the one that always comes back and wants to see every new dom. I'm like, oh, all right.
You're all there.
Yeah.
So like when we start out, like, starting anything new, you make mistakes and you have missteps and stuff. So like what are some mistakes that you made when you were starting out?
Learning to properly plant your implement of impact is, you want to make sure you stay in the upper back. You want to avoid the kidneys, so maybe I was not. I mean, I never damaged anyone. I never caused any like serious injury, but I know I didn't always land properly when I was first starting out, but that's to be expected. And then also, like, somebody passed out on me one time. Like, I had them up on a cross, and I think, I don't know, I'm not, you don't know what, if they're not, if they didn't drink enough water, they're not, didn't eat, if they're not, not hydrated, if they just locked their knees the whole time, that can make somebody pass out. So that's one thing, is if I have somebody in any kind of standing position, like, don't lock your knees, keep a little bend in your knees so you don't pass out. But yeah, this guy completely passed out. I'm like, well, luckily it was at the dungeon, so I had someone else to call to help me get him down from the cross. And but yeah, I've learned to just be more aware of the person's physical condition, if they seem like, and also to stress that they need to communicate with me if they're feeling at all lightheaded, or if they're feeling, if they're in any kind of physical stress at all, that they need to just let me know.
All right. So, okay. So what was your worst session memory?
you know, I mean, every now and then, I can't think of one specifically. I can just think of like every now and then you get someone who just really don't know what it's about. They're not really submissive. They just think, oh, you know, they're kind of like a, you know, some kind of like lagger that wants to see what it's like to be, I want to be dominated, you know, but they're not even close to submissive, and they're, you know, it's like you're fighting them off, trying to touch you the whole time. And you know, sometimes there's been a couple times I've told them, you know, you can't do this, you can't do this, and if they don't listen after the third time, I've just ended the session and kicked them out. But yeah, you know, if they're kind of listening but still being annoying and just trying to, you know, top from the bottom. No, well, no, okay, yeah, no, I don't like that. Do this now. Okay, now can you do this? Hey, I want, you know, asking inappropriate requests and then just being annoying the whole time, and it's like, okay, bye. I might write you down on the list of people I'm never going to see again.
So you have had people you had to like cut off completely?
Yeah, a couple times. I mean, usually they'll at least listen if I tell them, you know, I mean, I'll give them a warning. Like, I've told you twice you can't do that. If you do it a third time, I'm going to just ask you to leave. You're not getting any kind of a refund.
Right.
So usually they'll at least stop the offensive behavior, but they won't really stop being completely annoying. So I just kind of put up with it until the end, and then make sure I make a note to never see them again.
That's what happens. So okay, so this is a loaded question, and we're almost done. But okay, let's just say that you had unlimited resources, money, and everything you need is unlimited, and you have that at your disposal, and everything you want, anyone, anywhere. What is your ultimate femdom fantasy?
Oh, well, I would buy a castle, like a really proper, you know, big castle, and I would turn the whole thing into a dungeon with all different, you know, themed rooms and you know, of course, a real actual dungeon in the basement with like medieval torture equipment, and I would have just a whole staff of slaves for different purposes, you know, the butler slave and the, you know, cook and chef and, you know, meal preparation slaves and the whole, you know, several cleaning slaves, because with a, you know, large castle, I would need many slaves to keep it clean. And yeah.
Because you're not going to clean, because you're the queen, right?
Absolutely not, right.
That'd be fun, though.
It would.
Have like your own castle dungeon.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be so cool. So, like, from like way in the past to now, like, what era would you want to live in? If you can pick.
You know, that's difficult to say because right now, well, to put it bluntly, things are rather fucked up right now in the world. So, but then again, things are a lot more, you know, I mean, if I was living in, you know, the 1950s trying to do this, I imagine it would be much more difficult because, you know, acceptance was even more not tolerated in those times. Victorian times seem interesting, but again, you know, it would be rather scandalous if you were ever found out. And, so, you know, despite how fucked up the world is right now, I suppose this really is the best time.
I mean, I have nothing wrong right now, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so next thing we're going to do is the recommendations. I'm going to ask you to recommend a couple things, and they don't have to be kink related. They can be. They don't have to be. And they don't have to be your be-all, end-all favorite. Just something that you like that you think others would like to check
Okay.
out.
Well, I'll do my best.
Recommend a film.
Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick.
Heard of that? I have not seen it, but I have heard of that.
It's a bit older, but it's pretty epic.
Recommend a song.
Slut Garden by Marilyn Manson.
That sounds interesting. Recommend a TV show.
Well, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I am a massive Trekkie. So I'm going to say anything Star Trek.
That's interesting. Recommend a book.
I don't read a lot of fiction. I prefer non-fiction. I prefer something I'm going to learn things from. I'm into a lot of natural health, so I read a lot of. Right now, I'm reading the Medical Mediums book of natural cleansing, and I think that's important because there's so many things in this world that will cause disease. And you can't play and you can't be at your best if you're sick and suffering from heart problems and things caused by living an unhealthy lifestyle. So I think the Medical Mediums books are really, really good on helping you to find that healthy lifestyle.
And the last recommendation is recommend a meal.
I'm not I like to eat healthy, organic, stay away from. I'm not vegan. I experiment with vegan from time to time, but I'm not 100% in the cult of veganism. But I think it's healthy to live mostly vegan. Raw, natural foods, a lot of fresh fruit, vegetables, organic, non-GMO.
Yeah, so not me. Actually, I was talking to someone and I said, I told her I was picky.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you're talking to someone on an all organic diet. I was like, yeah, I don't know how you do it because I couldn't do it. So he has a few games that he plays, but I'm going to play the easy one for me. So this is a 3-word game. So what you need to do is to pick a letter of the alphabet, any letter that you want, and name 3 things that you love that all start with that letter, and one of them has to be kink related. The 2 don't have to be, they can be. But for example, if you were to choose B, if I chose B, it would be books, bed, and bondage.
All right.
Or if it was S, it would be sleeping, singing, and sensory deprivation.
All right.
So, any of that you want.
All right. So, let's go with. I'll go with B. Beach, bondage, and books.
Good, because I books too. And bondage is my number 1 king, so I first had to throw that in there. Okay, so we've reached the end. So the last thing that I want you to do is just take this time to promote your website, your links, any events you're doing, any traveling you're doing, so others can find you and get in touch with you. Go ahead.
All Alright, so the primary way to find me is through my website, esotericdomination.net. I also have a Twitter, and that will be esoteric_domina. And I've recently restarted my Instagram. It got banned because I posted a photo of a giant dildo, and I guess they didn't like that. But I've made a new Instagram, which is just esoteric domination as well. I have a TikTok, but I haven't done much with it yet, so I'll just leave that out. And that's about it right now.
What is esoteric?
It's knowledge, secret knowledge shared by a select group of people. It can be mystical, it can be, private, secret, elite.
Well, you're magical, so. But thank you so much for this interview. It was so much fun.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it as well.
And that are watching, you can just go to your kinky friends and find all interviews that have been done. They're all on YouTube, and this will be shortly. And then, I hope that look at Mistress Jasmine, play with her, should be fun. And to remember the rule that he always says in that right review: be cruel, be kind, keep open mind, and we'll see y'all later.